Good afternoon, everybody. This is Dale Stanek, Director here at Doran, Director of Safety here at Doran. Today with me is Jason O'Brien, our Hours of Service Manager, and a special guest, we have Violet Helferich on the line too with us. With that being said, I'd like to go ahead and get started with our meeting. I just want to remind everybody, please *3 to get into the queue if you have any questions or if you have a safety tip. We will ask at the end of the call for tips and or questions. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I'd like to talk about our current scores first. So I will start off with the BME ACE scores. So this was for the period that ended in February. Our unsafe score held flat at 64%. Hours of service decreased by 1 percentage point to 68. Vehicle maintenance dropped by 1 point to 83%. Driver fitness went down to 0 from 8%. DOT crash rose 5% from 46 to 51, and drugs and alcohol had no points on that. On our government secured ACE win side of the house, unsafe stayed flat at 1%. Hours of service decreased 2% to 38%. Vehicle maintenance also showed a 2% decrease. It moved down to 38% also. Driver fitness was 0, and DOT crash held flat at 4%. Those are really great scores, everyone. I appreciate your hard work with that. Moving along, I'd like to single out drivers who've had clean inspections during this reporting period. So if you bear with me here, I'll try not to mangle too many names, but Dustin Sauger, Levi J. Miller, Mark Watson, Terry Carver, John C., Daryl Sawyers, Terry Robinson, Jeff Yipe, Carlos Arroyo, Edwin Diaz, Barry Daniel, Radamus Lopez, Dale Craig, and Clifford Goodson. On the WIN government side, Leslie Gordonier, Justin Lockhart, and Larry Prince. We appreciate the work that you've done to get clean inspections. Good job, everybody, and I'd ask everyone else to please strive to make that type of commitment for clean inspections also. Quickly looking at our claims for this quarter, we are looking pretty good. Year to date, we are about 25% ahead of goal, looking just a little over $83,000 in total claims for both liability and cargo. We still have 3-4 days left in the quarter. Let's make sure we're doing what we can to avoid any cargo or liability claims between now and the end of the quarter. The only notable accidents that we've had here in the last couple weeks, we've had a couple of claims on the wind side where some of our drivers have struck signs and damaging the cargo there. I would ask to make sure when you're pulling oversized cargo that you're communicating with your escorts, making sure you have clearances, and obviously you need to stop before you strike something to help minimize and eliminate those type of claims. Moving along to, just remind everybody, *3 if you have any questions or tips that you would want to ask at the end of this call. I ask that you do that now because it does take a couple of minutes to get you into the queue. Moving along to my good friend here, Jason O'Brien. How you doing today, Jason?
I'm great, Dale. Thanks for having me on the call.
What is happening in the hours of service world?
Well, all kinds of things are happening in the hours of service world. Probably one of the bigger things right now is the hard date for e-log enforcement is going to be on April the 1st. There's been about, from December 18th until the end of February, 27,000 violations that have kind of soft been assigned to carriers. And from the end of February till now, in March, there's been about 5,000 more. So on April the 1st, that's when the DOT is going to be enforcing with e-logs a lot more than what they have been. I don't feel like we've felt any of that non-enforcement period. We've been getting violations for e-logs. So if there's any questions that you do have about a box or a policy regulation, please give me a call or give Dale a call, and we'll be happy to assist you with that, make sure that we're doing things the right way. If your box goes out and it's not working or you're unable to connect with your tablet, again, please give me a call. We can fix most problems right over the phone. Just takes a couple minutes. And Rand McNally, if you're on the HD100 Rand McNally system, they do also have a support number that you can call 24 hours a day, which is 1-800-641-7263.
Yeah, I believe I did see that article that you're mentioning where the president of Vigilo had indicated there's been a lot of soft enforcement, and he foresaw a huge increase in hours of service violations starting April 1st. I'm just warning everyone they should be prepared. I think I looked at our data, and I'd agree we hadn't seen too many violations that weren't without penalties. If we were in error on the logs, we were seeing hours of service points for that, so we haven't been, I guess, fortunate for soft enforcement.
No, we haven't been fortunate for soft enforcement, but that's okay, because that's what it's, on April the 1st, Sunday, it is going to be that way for everybody all the time. So we were just a little ahead of the curve there. But that's how it would be.
The other thing I just wanted to bring up that you mentioned is if for some reason your box does go down, you do need to call us and let us know. We need to have note of that. I think we had a driver or two who was having issues, and they just went to paper logs on their own without us knowing. The regulation does state, I believe it's 8 days max, that you can be on paper log if your truck is ELD eligible, and then it has to be fixed within that 8 days. If you don't let us know, we can't help solve the problem.
Well, Dale, and that's correct. We do only have 8 days to fix it, but normally we have it fixed by the next day. We're not trying to fix it in 8 days. We're fixing it as soon as possible. So if you would say call me on a Monday with an issue and we are unable to fix it over the phone, you'll have your box Tuesday, and we will go ahead and hook up the new one and be running. We wouldn't have to wait, we wouldn't wait that whole 8 days to get it done. It would be done the next day, or the next day that's feasible.
Yeah, it is good to get started sooner than later, as you mentioned, because it could be maybe not necessarily an issue with the box. It may be a mechanical issue or electrical issue with your truck, and that way we can kind of rule out that the box is malfunctioning and it may need to be repair on that. And if you wait too late, we're going to end up running out of time, and we're going to have to shut down until it's fixed. So we definitely don't want to, cause people to be out of service unnecessarily. The other thing I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, Jason, is personal conveyance. I don't know if everyone's really sure on what is allowed for personal conveyance. I was speaking with the driver the other day here. He had mentioned that he took his truck in to get it repaired, and the mechanic drove it, test drive it, which I told him that would be fine because, obviously he wasn't driving, but he said he drove over in personal conveyance to drop it off and then drove it back in personal conveyance to bring it home. Do you want to talk a little bit about the proper use of personal conveyance on an ELD?
Well, yeah, absolutely. A lot of drivers think that if they're doing anything that they feel is personal, that will qualify for personal conveyance. And unfortunately, it doesn't quite work like that when you are interpreting the regulation. What you see when you do read it is basically it is, for most of our drivers, being over-the-road drivers, is only good for short en route lodging stops for like a restaurant, maybe a laundromat, stuff like that. You do have to be unladen at the time. So a lot of times you'll be bobtailing, of course, when you're in personal conveyance. But as far as going to the mechanic to get your truck worked on, that would be considered on-duty time, and your logs should be on-duty, and that driving should be just regular on-duty driving. If your mechanic is going to drive it, the proper way to do that is you would drive there in your regular drive time, just in normal mode, and then once you arrive, you would log off the box. If he needed to drive it, to test drive it, to make sure everything was fixed and corrected that he was repairing, he would do that, and then when you're ready to go home, you would log back into the box, and it would have a pop-up that says driving detected while logged off, and then it would ask if you drove so many miles at a certain time, whatever the mechanic drove. At that point, you'd be able to say no, and it goes to an unassigned driving report, which is something that we monitor here. So we would see that there was unassigned driving, But then you would just drive home in the normal mode, and then that's how you would do a regular trip to the mechanic.
Which then that report would prompt you when you see excessive type of driving like that. You look at that and contact drivers and ask them, what was that about, correct?
Well, sure, yeah. If you're always driving and saying that nobody was driving, then, yeah, that's going to obviously raise some red flags, and we'll probably want to see what's going on there if you have a bunch of unassigned driving on your box. Absolutely.
Cool. All right. Anything else that you had to mention on hours of service?
Just a quick reminder on mounting your box. As far as the HD100 box, it does need to be secured somewhere in the cab. We talked last time about it maybe just being Velcro or something else. No, your tablet and or your phone, whatever you use to use your logs, does also need to be mounted in a fixed position where you're able to see it while you drive. So I just wanted to remind everybody about that. And, of course, if you have any questions on those, just give me a call so we can clear anything up for you. And then we're getting, of course, one of my favorite things to do, again, is remind everybody we're at the end of March here. So if you have inspections due in March, Saturday is the 31st. So please get your inspections in by then, and we'll get you all updated in the system. But that's about all I had there on log sale, unless there's anything else that you have.
Oh, no, thank you. But you did remind me you need to turn in your quarterly maintenance. Also, if you're due for your DOT inspection, please make sure you turn your maintenance at the same time so that we are gathering it together. Now I'd like to talk to Ms. Violet Helferich. I don't know if everyone knows her, but she has been with ACE for a little over 2 years. She works in our wind division, hauling the blades. She is the recipient of the, let me make sure I get this, Secured Carriers Rigging Association Driver of the Year. The award was given during their Specialized Transportation Symposium in St. Louis. Their membership comprises of more than 1,350 members from 46 nations. Violet, how are you today?
I'm doing pretty good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. I'd like to thank you for joining us. Just before we get started, I do want to remind everybody, *3 if you have any questions that you'd like to ask at the end of the meeting. Violet, can you tell me, describe your experiences at the Specialized Transportation Symposium?
Oh, yeah, it was very beneficial. We got to meet with the state representatives for the permitting offices, and, did learn quite a bit of things that they're working on for to make it better for permitting and all that other good stuff.
That sounds
a lot of the self-issue. Some of the states are working on the self-issue permitting.
Okay.
So.
Well, that sounds really exciting. Can you tell me, as I mentioned, you won Driver of the Year for that association. What qualifications did you need to possess to get nominated for that?
From what I understand, it was 5 years of accident-free, 5 years of no safety violations or out of service. I was leadership skills of running a crew efficiently, and I think that was pretty much all that I gathered from why I was nominated.
Oh, well, that was, such a great for you to win that award. It sounds very prestigious, and we're very happy to have you here with ACE, of course. Can you tell me, are there any other professional organizations that you belong to?
I am also a member of Women in Trucking, and with Women in Trucking, it's like a big support group. They do recognize drivers for I just lost my place.
That's okay. Well, while you're thinking about that, I can mention, though, the Specialized Carrier Rigging, just to get a little background on them. They are specialized transportation organization that takes care of crane, rigging operations, machinery moving, industrial maintenance, mill riding, manufacturing, and rental services. If you can't think what else you were going to say, Violet, I can ask you another question if you're ready.
Okay. Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
What are some of the safety challenges you face daily pulling oversized freight?
Safety challenges.
Yep.
I guess breakdowns, unexpected breakdowns, losing a tire, losing a wheel seal, and then having to, be stuck on the side of the road. To me, it's, not trying to find a safe place to pull off. And that, I'd have to say that's one of my biggest safety challenges.
Yeah.
Is having a breakdown and not finding a safe haven to park in.
All right. What is a safety tip that you would like to give to other drivers?
Basically pre-trip, mid-trip inspection. If it's broke, get it fixed now, because later may be too late.
Yeah, that is good advice. This past couple of weeks, we have seen some increases in our vehicle maintenance scores with some of our drivers picking up violations. Now that the weather is getting warmer, I think inspectors are starting to pay a little more attention to vehicle maintenance. Is there anything else you would like to add?
Yeah, I found my spot again. With the women in trucking, we gain ample opportunities to network with peers, experts, and providers. It's a really great organizations. I know they've helped me along the way with some of the struggles I have. They got a forum that, sometimes you can enter into the forum, like if you have a question or a problem, and usually, like, there's other people that communicate back to, like, handle a situation.
Yeah, that's great. I know that is an organization that we support here with Ace Bennett. I know Mrs. Taylor is a strong supporter of that. So if there is any interest from any of our women drivers in our fleet, you can contact me and I can give you that information. So they're always looking for additional members to join. Well, Violet, I really appreciate you joining us and taking some time out of your day to join us in this call.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you for having me.
You're more than welcome. Thank you so much. So just a reminder, *3, we're at a point where we're going to take questions and or tips. Jason, did you have anything you wanted to add before we take a question?
No, I think we are ready for questions and safety tips. My favorite.
Excellent. All right, well, let's see who we have available here. Patrick, if you can pull up the screen here. Oh, I'm sorry. Chris DeTour is available. Chris?
Yes, hi.
How are you?
I am cruising down the road having a riot. I am having fun.
Oh, excellent. Chris just started here, was it 1 or 2 weeks ago?
About a week and a half now.
All right, excellent. So do you have a safety tip or a question you have?
Basically the question on the personal conveyance deal.
Okay.
I noticed when I went into my tablet, it said you have to be on duty to do personal conveyance. Okay. Does that count against your 11-14-70 rule? And if it does, I can see a couple of issues where you go to, an example, Walmart, you go shopping for a couple of hours, you do your thing, and then all of a sudden you get back out to the truck. You're going to have to keep track of your time very closely so you can get back to your original destination so you're not over your hours. Is this correct?
Go ahead, Jason. Hey, Chris, this is Jason, and no, to be in personal conveyance, you do have to be off duty rather than on duty, but that doesn't count towards your 70 or 11 or anything like that as far as your drive time for the day or the week if you're in personal conveyance. The issues that we have with personal conveyance is sometimes it gets used incorrectly, and that's what we're trying to prevent.
Okay, so why did the tablet ask me or tell me to go on duty before going on personal conveyance?
That's a great question. I haven't seen a tablet say that, but we can definitely look into it, and that's something I can follow up with you at a later time, maybe a little bit later today.
Yeah, excellent. And then the other kind of following question is on a yard move. It tells you to go into on duty.
If you're going to,
and the reason
yard move is on your list of things to choose?
No,
it says yard move, and basically what all I was going to do is move from one spot in the truck stop to another spot to let an oversize so he could be on the edge and he wouldn't be taking up 2 spots. So I went into yard move, and it said you need to be on duty for this.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, with that, we were kind of talking about the unassigned driving portion of things before, and you were able to go 3 miles before it would put you in on-duty driving automatically. So if you were just going to move at the truck stop,
gotcha.
You could do that, and there wouldn't be any issue. You don't have to select yard move to do that.
Is it 3 miles?
Okay, I understand.
5 miles? I can't. Which one is? Is it both?
It is just 3 miles.
Just 3 miles.
Speed is not a factor.
Okay, gotcha. Cool. Well, thank you for calling, Chris. All right.
Thanks for.
Oops, sorry. Next up, it looks like we have Robert Salter. Robert, are you there?
Yes, I am. Thank you very much.
How are you today?
I'm doing great. I've been with Doran now for about 4 or 5 months. I'm one of your van drivers. I'm doing the van transport.
Okay.
I just want to say I really appreciate Doran. Come to find out, my uncle actually retired from Doran back in the early 70s.
Oh, wow.
He did your heavy hauling on the 7 and 9 axle trailers. So I'm kind of in the family tradition.
Yeah, how cool is that?
I just had a couple of comments. I see a lot of the Doran and Bennett drivers out here, and they speak so highly of everybody, and I'm just glad to be part of it. My comment was on the conveyance driving. Man, all I can say on that is the guys really need to pay attention to it, because my brother he's an ex-DOT inspector, and he said through his friends, they are really going to crack down on the personal conveyance big time. So beware of that, and if you don't have to use it, don't use it. That's the best way to look at it.
Well, yeah, and that's a great tip. We've already got a couple violations from the personal conveyance, and that's why we continue to talk about it.
Yeah,
it's just he said that's going to be one of the areas that they're really going to crack down on it, because so many people don't understand it. And I'm glad, Jason, that you explained it in a way that most drivers should be able to understand it. The last thing I wanted to comment, I don't know if many of you know it, I'm also a pastor out here, and I know Bennett has a chaplain, but I also have a service for the guys out here too on Sundays at 10:30 Central Time. If they call into my church, I actually pull over to the side of the road and preach a live sermon every Sunday. We've been doing it for 8 years.
That's awesome, Rob.
Excellent. Cool.
My nickname is Preacher, so everybody calls me Preacher.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate
I want to thank everybody, though. Thank you very much for all that you guys do.
Thank you
God
so
bless
much.
you all.
Thank you.
Jason, Robert did bring up a good point on the personal conveyance. It just reminded me that we had a couple people who were in personal conveyance inappropriately. If your hours run out and you're on the road, you need to continue in the drive mode. It's better to take a violation of being over than trying to falsify a log. That is far worse. That gives the appearance that you're, hiding or masking what you're doing. So just be mindful of that. If for some reason you're stuck out in traffic and your time runs out, keep it in the drive and then just let us know. And, a violation is what it is. It's better that than trying to hide it under personal conveyance.
That's very true.
So, all right.
Can I add something?
Oh, sure, Violet.
I was told when you first say you ran out of hours and, you pull over and you go off duty, and then put in the comments that you proceed to a safe haven and then proceed to drive, the 5 minutes or 10 minutes you're away from your parking area.
Yeah, that's fine. You can do that, Violet. It just let us know. If an officer were to stop you at some point, he could see that as a violation. It's going to be his call whether or not he'll write you up, but it's far better to be forthright with your hours, and if you're over because of whatever reason, and then trying to hide it through personal conveyance or some other means, because that's a false log, and that's always worse.
Yeah, and then *3 if you do have any safety tips or comments. So *3 if you do have any of that. One thing I did also want to say about that is, like, if you did get a DOT while you were over your 14-hour, for example, what I think Dale was trying to say is that you went into violation because you ran out of time, and you might be able to appeal to his better nature by trying to explain that you were trying to find a safe haven to park, and you kind of say the place where you were going to park just didn't have any spots or whatever it was. So he would be able to see that, and you might be able to kind of convince him that's what happened, versus stopping, going into off-duty, going into personal conveyance, and then he sees that you went into personal conveyance after your 14 hours, so he knows that you were just being deceitful, and that's going to be a violation every time.
So, just a reminder. Go ahead, Violet.
I was just adding the comment. I wasn't meaning to go into personal conveyance and.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, of course. Yeah, add a comment, like a tag on there so we know what happened at that time. Absolutely.
Yep. Thank you. Remind everybody, *3, if you want to either a question or a tip. We will take another question or two. Right now there's no one in the queue, so I'm going to just wrap up a couple things and see if anyone else will come in before I wrap it up. A reminder here that if you need to get your first quarter safety meetings done, we did 11 in-person meetings so far this quarter. We had 167 drivers attend these meetings. That's a good turnout. We've had 40 drivers complete online safety videos. You have between now and the end of the month, which is 3-4 days from now. So please go ahead and get that done so that you qualify for the first quarter safety meeting. Jason mentioned turn in your DOT inspection and quarterly maintenance also. We're getting close to the end of the month in that regard. And then finally, I do want to make note of our unsafe driving stats. Our goal with the BME ACE side of the house this year is not to exceed 18 in total. So far, year to date, we've had 4, so we are doing all right. We're slightly under goal. If we can keep up a good trend, I think we should be able to make that goal for the year. So with that being said, we have one more caller. I'm sorry, they're still screening. We will wait for Harry to get through the screening process here and take that call. So, Jason, is there anything else you wanted to add before we bring Harry onto the line? Nope.
I wish there really was. Of course, I do want to tell drivers that I appreciate everything you guys do out there. It's one of the toughest jobs, I think, that you can do, and you guys do it well every day. So thank you for that. I truly appreciate it.
Yep. And the good news is I think we might be past the winter driving. I haven't seen any major winter storms, so...
Yes, the weather's looking up, that's for sure.
With that being said, we should start being mindful of spring driving hazards. Start looking out for motorcyclists, of course. People on bicycles present many challenges for us, but we need to start thinking about that. And, of course, increased traffic congestion now that the weather's getting better and people start traveling here. So, all right. It looks like, oh, my goodness. Here we go, finally. Harry, how are you?
I am phenomenal. How y'all doing?
We are doing well. Thanks for asking. Do you have a tip or a question for us?
I have a question.
Okay.
When you go into personal conveyance, it's got like 4 different qualifications for it, and one of them is, did you cover it asks if you covered your DOT number. What is that about? I mean, is that something you have to do?
No, Harry, you certainly don't have to do that. We've been trying to get that removed so it's not there because it's not required at all. So you do not have to cover up your DOT in any way, shape, or form.
Okay.
Oh, so that's just on the software asking that?
Yeah, that's on the HD100 app when you hit personal conveyance. It does say a couple things, and some of those would apply only to short-haul drivers and some other things. They don't all apply, and that's one of them that's actually just wrong, wrong completely. So, no, you don't have to do that at all.
All right. Well, that had me confused because I had never done it at the other company I was at. By the way, I've been here for a year, and I love Ace Doran.
Oh, excellent. We love having you here. So you've been a good guy here. I know I've talked to you numerous times on the phone with questions you have, so you've always been a very, very pleasant gentleman to work with.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Well, I appreciate you calling, Harry. It looks like we don't have anyone else in queue, so we're going to go ahead and wrap it up. I just want to echo the same sentiments that Jason made here. We appreciate all the hard work you guys and gals do for us. Without you, there wouldn't be any need for us here. So with that being said, any questions, you can call myself or Jason. We look forward to talking to you, and we will hear from you next month, fourth Wednesday. Thank you so much. Bye.